Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show, the show that discusses arcade repair, restoration, news, and more. Now, here are your hosts, Tim and Jonathan.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of the Arcade Repair Tips Live Show. We're so glad to have you here joining us today. And Tim, let me go ahead and start off with some introductions. My name is Jonathan Leung, and I'm the producer, director, and editor of the Arcade Repair Tips video series. And joining me today, as always, is Mr. Arcade Repair Tips himself, Tim Peterson. Tim, how you doing?
A little sleepy, but I'll be all right.
Okay, now we're going to get into why you're sleepy here in just a second. But the one thing I do want to say is I hope that everybody out there had a really nice Halloween, right?
Right.
And I still feel like I'm rocking Halloween here. I've got my Ghostbusters video game shirt on. Tim, you have a lot of trick-or-treaters, a lot of candy?
You know, it rained here, so we didn't get very many trick-or-treaters at all, and I was coming home from Texarkana kind of late, so I missed most of that.
Now, I will say this. We still have about half a bag of candy. Tim, we had about 150 trick-or-treaters, which is kind of low, actually, for our neighborhood. It's pretty heavy here. But we do have a half bag of candy left. So if you guys hear wrappers opening and things, it may be us eating candy. And Tim, a fun trivia point. There's actually an episode of the Question and Answer podcast where you and me are eating a bag of Twizzlers, I think, the entire time we're doing the podcast. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you see, I remember that kind of stuff. So if you guys know which episode that was, I'd love for you to tell me, because I can't even remember. We did so many, Tim. But anyway, hope you guys had a great Halloween. We are in November, Tim. This is the first Thursday in November, which is when we usually do the live shows. And another thing I want to say, Tim, is I want to say congratulations to the Houston Astros who won the World Series last night.
Yeah.
So congratulations to all the Houston Astros fans out there, and we're so glad that your team did well, Tim. Of course, I was hoping for a Texas Rangers win because I'm a Texas Rangers fan, but the Houston Astros pulled it out. Great job, guys. And Tim, I think that's really important, especially considering everything that Houston has been through.
Right. And I think a lot of people were rooting for them. They were kind of not necessarily the underdogs because they had such a great team this year. It was a very evenly matched World Series. But at the same time, a lot of people were rooting for them to have that. It's like the town needed a win. You know,
exactly.
It's like the city needed a win. And so congratulations to them. And we know a lot of Houston fans. So
yes, we do.
And
we're going to be talking about, speaking of that, we're going to be talking about Houston here in a little bit because we did do a seminar. You weren't there, Tim, unfortunately, because you had your trip to California. But Arcade Repair Tips did a seminar at the Houston Arcade Expo, what was it, a couple weekends ago. And so we will be talking about some of the games there and how that seminar went and all that good stuff. So now before we get started, guys, I do want to remind you that you can join us in the live chat. You guys can, go ahead and leave us some messages and post comments, whatever you want to leave, or you can leave money just like YouTube Punk just did. Thank you so much for that. He says, if you guys have an NES or Super NES Classic, will you hack them? Thanks, guys, and happy Halloween. Actually, I've already hacked my NES Classic.
Right.
I have not done my Super NES Classic because I technically don't get that till Christmas. So we'll get onto that here in a second. But Tim, I'm totally bypassing what you initially said. Why are you so tired?
Well, I have been up since about 4 a.m. and it's now 5:30 Central Time.
That's right. So you've been up 13 and a half hours, basically.
And I slept about 4 hours because I was also working last night getting ready. We got a new game package at Chuck E. Cheese today.
Right. So tell everybody, what does a new game package consist of? What's that process?
Well, we're not really like a lot of arcades where we get a new game very often. We rotate about every 2 years. And what they do is they will send us some brand new games, some refurbished games, and then we'll trade some games with another store.
Right.
So we get some new out of the box, some that are relatively new, and then we usually get somebody else's problems. But
that's right. The games they don't want, you get to inherit some.
No, we don't really get much choice over it, but we always just having something new. I got 17 new games, so. But we also lost some games, so we had to put them out of service, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Now, Tim, you actually sent me some of the pictures, and we have them here on the outline. So can we show those to the people here? Okay, let me go ahead and bring it up real quick. Now, these are some of the new games, right, that you guys got?
Yeah, I wanted to just take a couple of. I really didn't take a picture of everything, but I know that some games I thought that might interest some of our viewers.
Okay, now the first one looks like the new Cruisin' Blast, going from left to right, of course.
Right.
So you got the Cruisin' Blast, and that one's I think it's a Nintendo/Raw Thrills game, if I remember correctly. So, and basically based on the Cruisin' series, Cruisin' USA, Cruisin' Exotica, Cruisin' World, right?
Yeah, definitely a eye-catching game, very fun to play, great graphics, plays great. All those LEDs, the back wheels, those LEDs are spinning, going around and around. It's one theme that you can see on all of our new games were lots of lights, lots of LED lights, a lot of colors and different things. That's kind of the attract mode.
Now, it does look like it has the lighted LED T-molding on it, correct?
Yes, it does. And so, we talked about that when that kind of came out a couple years ago, and we thought everybody was going to it, and then it's like, no, hardly. Now I'm seeing it on more and more games.
It's just taking a while to get there, right?
I think so.
Okay, so the next one we have is a Fruit Ninja FX, it looks like.
Yeah, this is kind of what I'm talking about when we get a refurbished game. Which is something, it's not a brand new game because Fruit Ninja's been out for a while, but it's a brand new game for us. And they had taken it to our refurb center, and as you can see, it looks brand new because they do a good job of refurbishing them. Now,
that game doesn't look like it's much. Basically, a touchscreen and a computer. Is that about it?
That's pretty much it. It's very simple. But one thing about that people don't, we're going to talk about dismantling some games here in a minute, but one thing people don't know is Chuck E. Cheese actually spends a lot of money refurbishing games, and we have some listeners that are very skilled and love to do that. So that may be a job that you would like to check into sometime.
When you say dismantle, it makes me think of like Short Circuit. No, disassemble Johnny Five. We don't want that. But we'll talk about that here in a second and why you guys do that.
Yeah,
right?
There's a few that I hate to disassemble myself, and there's a few I just want to take a sledgehammer to and do.
That's right. We'll talk about those too. Now, the next one we have here is a Paw Patrol. Now, it looks like just kind of like a spinner stop.
It's kind of like
game.
A Sonic spinner. Like I said, again, really lit up, very attention-getting. Lots of noise. I just took that picture because I thought, man, if I was a kid, I would want to play this.
And Paw Patrol is one of those properties, Tim, that seems to be really big with the kids nowadays, that I've noticed anyway.
That's true. 5 or 10 years ago, I said, if I was to make a redemption game, I would make, whatever it was, I would put SpongeBob's face on it.
Right.
Because it just seems to make good money. I've heard the same about Paw Patrol now. It's very popular for kids' redemption style game.
Now, I can't read what this little Jeep looking thing has on it or what the name of it is.
I really should have taken a couple pictures of it, and I really thought this was one of the coolest pieces. You can look it up. It's called Alien Boogie Patrol. And basically, it's a kiddie ride. The engine lights up. There's LED lights all over it. In the back is a small cage, and it's got aliens under there, and it tells you do not feed the aliens and don't touch them. Then on the inside, you have a video screen, and as the kid is riding, it's rocking and making all kinds of noise. It's actually a game you play, and you try to catch the aliens in the game.
So it actually has like motion to it.
Yeah,
as
it has
well?
a motion.
So is that hydraulic based or is that like mechanical arm based?
It's just mechanical. I didn't look up under there, but no one who made this ride and their former rides like it. It's just basically a motor and belt that just kind of make a rocking motion.
Gotcha. Okay.
Underneath.
That makes sense. Okay.
Real simple, but I guarantee you, kids love it.
Okay. Well, let's go to your next one here. Now, let's see. What is this one here, Tim? I can't see the name of it on the first one.
That is a bike rally.
Okay, bike rally.
And the next one is Dog Pounder, which we've had a while. The next one over there is Full Tilt.
Okay.
And that's the one with all the gears and stuff. We played that one before.
Right.
At Dave and Buster's and stuff. Bike Rally, again.
So those are there's 3 games in that picture. That's what you're saying.
And I wanted to get the Bike Rally and the Full Tilt because those are 2 new games to me. Those are, again, like we said, some are new, some are refurbs, and then these transfers. These came from a different store. But again, we talked about it before, where games are going. This is an actual bike. Imagine Paperboy back in the day that you would actually pedal.
Right.
And so you actually have to exercise to play this game. And in the middle is something really cool. Everybody's a fan of the whack-a-mole type games. Well, this is the DC comic whack.
Okay.
And basically characters like the Joker and Lex Luthor and stuff pop up and you whack them.
And I see that they went with the comic theme instead of the movie theme, which I think was smart.
Yes. And it was funny how many kids off the bat, small kids, little kids, recognize the Joker and Batman and things like that. So it also, it's not showing, but the red part back there, of course, all that flashes and lights up. Lots of LEDs. All the heads that pop up have little LED rings around them.
Now, YouTube Punk also asked, what does Chuck E. Cheese do with the old inventory? Does Tim get first dibs? And that's what the next picture is, right?
Yeah, we send some back to the warehouse for refurbishing. We send some back that are going to be sold, because I can take some parts like a reader that
you may need for another game, right?
Right. If I send a reader back, we're talking about the card tap readers, to a refurb, I have to keep it on there because they're going to use it.
Right.
But if it's going to auction, I send a Deal or No Deal, an Afterburner Deluxe, and a Seawolf. They're going to sell those, and they have buyers. You can actually, I could have bid on any of the games, even the ones that we're going to destroy. I could have said, hey, can I have this game? I would like to purchase it. My problem is most of the time they ask a little too much.
Right.
It's not always a great deal. But, of course, if you would have been, that's behind the store, we take the boards out and we keep them for other stores that may need a board for their game. But you could have got a Raging Ape today almost fully complete minus a board.
Oh, wow.
And so, as you can see, back behind the store, we had them lined up before they went in the dumpster. And I wanted to show that picture just to tell people, because we've had some flack over the years about destroying games and why we do that. And I didn't really understand it for a long time. I couldn't understand why you wouldn't just sell them.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to not just sell the games until somebody explained it to me, and it's real simple. Basically, they depreciate every year for tax purposes.
Sure.
Okay, so year 10 you can depreciate it just a little, but or year 1, but by the year 10 you can depreciate that game a lot. But you have to prove that it's worth nothing. If you don't want to pay additional taxes, you can say that game was worth nothing. Well, how can you prove that it's worth nothing? Well, there you go. There's the picture. You have to destroy it. It's so old, it's so broken that it can no longer play. Thereby, we have fully depreciated for tax purposes is why they do that. And it's actually probably good business sense, just not really great for us collectors.
Right.
Because we want to see them. On the other hand, I will say this, that if you did like that game, and it would have been something that I would have been interested in, I probably could have made a bid on it. And sometimes it's actually a pretty good deal because they've already depreciated it. They can only sell it for so much too.
Right.
They can't turn around and sell it for $2,000 if they're telling the IRS it's worth $200.
Right.
So they have to be careful. So a lot of times you can get some good deals, but usually they'll send them to auction.
Right. And
A
just
lot
sell
of
them
times.
off there.
Yeah.
There you go. So that answers, I think, YouTube Punk's question then.
Yeah, just to show you guys some pictures of kind of what takes place all in one day. You go from having at 4 o'clock in the morning, we had these certain games till, by noon, we've already taken out the old games, thrown them away, got new games, got them set up, and we're playing them.
There you go. So, and that's why you're tired today. So hopefully we can make it through the entire live show without you falling asleep. If we cut away to a question and Tim's sleeping, you guys will know.
And I hope that everybody enjoyed just to see those kind of behind the scenes type deals that go on.
Absolutely. Now, Tim, before we get into questions real quick, I do have a couple of notes here that I just wanted to make mention of, and so let me throw those up here. The first thing is that we have a programming note. The December live show, episode 10, will be on the second Tuesday of the month at our regular time. And Tim, that's because I have tickets to a concert on the first Thursday of the month.
Right.
And so I can't move the concert. The concert is the date it is. So we will move the live show. It's going to be the second Thursday of December, which is December 14th, 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Same time we normally do it, just the second Thursday instead. And we'll mention that again at the end of the show for those people who aren't watching right now. And then we also, Tim, I want to mention that we still have a sale on our Volumes 1, 2, and 3 DVD set for our live show viewers. So if you're watching this right now and you don't have one of our DVD sets, you can get $7 off of the regular price of our Volumes 1, 2, and 3 DVD set, which puts it, Tim, basically $38. To get this special pricing, you'll need to go to our website, arcaderepairtips.com/store/sale. And if you guys go there, you will get that pricing. Now, Tim, it should be mentioned that this set has some videos that aren't on our YouTube page.
Yes.
Okay, so in over 60 minutes of material, in fact, that's not on our YouTube page. So if you want some extra arcade repair tips videos, or you're looking for something specific, maybe something, Tim, like replacing a flyback or checking a hot, those are some things that we show on our DVDs. So if you haven't picked up our DVD set, we highly recommend it. Only $38 right now for a limited time for live show viewers. Again, arcaderepairtips.com/store/sale. Well, Tim, I think that's all my pitching for now. We'll mention all that stuff again at the end of the show.
Okay.
But let's go ahead and get into the questions. And again, guys, remember, if you're in the live chat, you can also send us questions, suggestions, comments in there as well as the show goes on. So, without further ado, Tim, let's get to the questions. And actually, Tim, we have a follow-up first.
Okay.
And this follow-up is from Michael. Now, most of you guys who watched the live show last month might remember Michael's question. He had a question about a Williams Firepower pinball machine that he was having some issues with, and our friend Eric, Tim, actually ended up answering that.
Right.
And so Michael says, an update on my question about Williams Firepower last month. I changed out the punch-down connectors for Molex KK connectors, but still no joy. I got sick of chasing bugs and bought a new replacement soundboard. So now, all new guts. A Rotten Dog MPU 327, a Rotten Dog WPD 3211A power supply, and a Swimmer D-8224 soundboard. Now I can enjoy my game for another 20 plus years without any worries. As a bonus, I was able to sell my original board set to offset the cost of the new replacements. Don't ever throw old boards out. People want them, even in used or faulty condition. And Tim, it kind of goes back to what you were talking about with the games that you guys were, kind of depreciating, was that you still took the boards and stuff out of them, right?
Yes.
Because you just never know when that board's going to come in handy. There could be another Chuck E. Cheese who has that same game who needs a board replacement.
Oh, yeah, and they're very expensive most of the time for the manufacturers.
Absolutely. So, yeah, you definitely never want to just throw out old boards. At least see if you can sell them, or there's probably a taker out there somewhere who will just take them if you just want them off your hands, right?
True.
And so we're glad that Michael was able to get his game back up, Tim. And Tim, we've used the Rotten Dog MPUs before and things, and they're very good. We tend to want to just fix the boards, Tim, instead of replacing them with Rotten Dogs. But every so often, if you have a lot of acid damage from like leaking batteries or something like that, it's better to go ahead and go with the Rotten Dog instead, right?
Right. And sometimes it's just, I've looked at a board, just got too much damage or acid damage or something like that. Sometimes it's just the best alternative, especially if you're going to keep the game for a while.
Absolutely. So, Michael, we're glad you got your Williams Firepower back up and running, and hopefully you do get to enjoy it working for 20 plus years, Tim.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if every game would work for 20 plus years? So, but just depending on how much you're playing it, you never know. So, Michael, we're glad you got your game back up and running. Enjoy playing that Williams Firepower pinball machine. Okay, Tim, we have Dan. Dan is the next one on the list here, and Dan says, I'm trying to diagnose a monitor problem. The screen was perfect. Now it's got a huge black spot. See pic. And Tim, I actually attached the pic here to Dan's question. Is it a tube problem or just a cap kit? Sorry, still an amateur. Thank you. Okay, Tim, so we see Dan's big gaping hole here in the middle of his monitor.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It looks like a rip. Somebody just took it and ripped it open.
I was thinking it almost looks like a chainsaw, like the bottom half of a chainsaw or something like that. Or I don't know, like somebody just took a slash through it or something like that. But anyway, Tim, so what do you think's going on with Dan's monitor here? What does he need to do in order to get this big gaping hole out of his picture?
Well, this usually is a great example of what a capacitor could do.
Right.
Dark spots like that can be caused by bad caps.
Right.
And so that's where we generally recommend doing a cap kit.
Gotcha.
It's normally not the tube when this happens.
Okay, normally not the tube. That's what people need to know. And so, yeah, what you'll normally want to do is, like you said, try a cap kit first, right? Now, I've also seen this happen with flybacks. Bad flybacks go bad, and sometimes you'll get this as well, Tim.
Okay.
That seems to be a common area as well. I did, on a game I just worked on, Tim, there was a little spot at the bottom that had a hole in it.
Yes.
And I did the cap kit on the monitor, spot went away.
Right.
So obviously, bad caps are a cause of this, but there's a couple others here, and I'm going to throw the slide
I
up
worked
so you
on
guys
a
can
monitor not long ago, had a perfectly round circle.
Like just a circle.
I mean, just a round circle. It was a 40-something inch monitor, about as big as my fist, a complete round circle.
Wow. Was this an LCD or a CRT?
It was an LCD.
LCD.
And I thought that was the funniest thing, just to see this big black dot on there. And it was a bad cap.
There you go. So bad caps can definitely cause this. So let's go ahead and go here. Dark spot issues like this can be caused by a variety of things, including, like Tim said, bad caps. Like I said, bad flyback. Neckboard issues too, Tim. You have to be careful with neckboard issues. Bad tube can be a cause. Kind of rare, like you mentioned. Not usually a bad tube.
Not as often.
Right, exactly. But we always recommend starting off with a cap kit to see if that solves your issue. While you have the chassis out, though, you definitely want to touch up the solder on the rest of the chassis, particularly the neckboard, Tim. Particularly neckboard. If problem continues after a cap kit and touching up solder, replace the flyback and maybe the horizontal output transistor as well.
While you're in there.
If problem persists, you could at that point have a bad tube. If we have that much, if we've replaced that many parts and we're still having this issue, then we probably do have a bad tube, right?
When it's a bad tube, you'll usually see that on any screen. Like if you just take your board, unplug, turn the brightness all the way up, you would see that. This is more when he's trying to get his colors and things on his screen.
Now, it looks like Dan is in the chat room. So, okay. Dan, we don't know if you've actually solved this problem yet, but if you have, please let us know what you did to solve it. And, that way we can tell everybody in the live chat exactly what steps you took. Or if you haven't solved it yet, maybe you can try these steps and then get back with us and let us know how it's going from there. But hopefully, between replacing caps, replacing flyback, and touching up some solder in the neck board, as well as maybe replacing the horizontal output transistor, between all four of those things, Tim, hopefully he'll get his monitor back up and running. So I bet the cap is still, most of the time, it's a capacitor. There you go. So Dan, hopefully it answers your question. And like I said, if he's in the chat, Tim. So let us know if you did fix it. Oh, he says it was caps.
Okay.
There you go. You're right. See? Oh. There you go. You hit it perfectly on the spot, right?
Well, I thought it just usually is when you see that. So any of those dark spots like that, that's completely blank.
Yeah,
I would suspect a bad cap.
My problem wasn't that bad, Tim. It was literally just a little spot at like the very end of the tube picture where I was getting it. Mm-hmm. But after I did the cap replacement, it worked fine. And actually, we're going to show you what that bad cap that I'm pretty sure was a bad cap looked like later in the show that I replaced to get that spot out. So we'll talk about that here in a second. He says it was caps. Bump and jump is now as good as new.
Awesome.
There we go.
Good job, Dan.
Sounds good. Good job, Dan. Thanks for letting us know that, and we're glad that you got your problem solved. So, okay, Tim, let's move to Barack. Barack here. Is that how you say it?
Former president?
I think it's spelled a little bit differently.
I haven't talked to him since he left the White House. So
I don't know. Were you guys on a first-name basis?
Well, he had his arcade games. I had to always give him repair tips. Never staying up, call me in the middle of the night.
I think this is a different Barack. Okay. I think Barack, right, versus Barack.
I got you.
Okay, and I hope I'm saying that right. But anyway, Barack says, "Hi there. I've watched your videos and wanted to let you know that your information is just so awesome. Thank you so much for this good stuff about the arcade world. I have a tiny problem at the moment, which you might give me some information about. I have a WWF Superstars JAMA game. It works perfectly, except the picture does not fit the screen of the tube. I believe I can fix this in the service menu, but I cannot find any service button on the board. I found the switches, but no service button. I could not find any info about in the manual either." And I think, Tim, let me go back for a second. I think when he says SWs, I think he's talking about the dip switches.
Yeah.
So, anyway, he says, "I found the dip switches, but no service button. I could not find any info in the manual either. I checked out forums, but no one mentions anything about it, so I wanted to try my luck on asking you. Do you know how to access the service menu? It would make me very happy if you could give me a hand on that. Thanks for your time and effort. May the force be with you. Barack." So, it's always good, Tim, to end on a Star Wars reference. It's almost a guarantee we're going to put it on the live show if you do that. No.
That bumps it up a couple places, right?
That's right. So, anyway, Tim, so we have Barack here, and it kind of sounds like he may be getting two problems confused, maybe, just a little bit. So, a WWF Superstars game, but he's talking about the picture does not fit the tube, but he's trying to find the test service menu, okay? So, are those related at all? He thinks if he finds the test service menu that he can fix that problem. What do you think?
Well, normally, I don't know of any test menu for that game like that.
Right.
I know what he's talking about, but normally that would be something you go into a monitor test menu.
Right, exactly. If you have a digital monitor.
If a digital monitor, right. We're talking about an older game, so he probably just needs a monitor adjustment, would be my guess. Oh, good. He sent us a picture.
No, that's not a picture. I put that up there. We'll show it here in a second. He actually didn't send a picture, but, this was just based on the way he said it, Tim. I put this picture up here. And so what I did was Tim, I did some research to see if there was a test service menu. And from our research, it doesn't look like it has a test service menu. The pinouts on KLOV show not applicable for position 15S, solder side, parts side.
Yeah, I don't remember
which are typically used for test and service buttons. Of course, it doesn't sound like a test or service mode problem. It sounds like a monitor adjustment issue, Tim, right? And so what you need to probably do, Barack, here is check out our video on adjusting an arcade monitor. Okay, that's what you're going to want to do. That has some great stuff. Now, Tim, if you do have a digital monitor, then there's going to be a breakout board where you can make the on-screen display adjustments. Okay, and so you may, if you have a digital monitor, you may have to look for a breakout board with a button, on it that you can control some different things.
Right, or change your inputs or something like that. But, but normally not on that type of game. If we're talking about a tube monitor, he probably just needs to adjust it.
Right, exactly. And so adjusting an arcade monitor, Tim, our video on that should help him get that picture back in. Now, another video we have, Tim, is adjusting the horizontal width coil. And so if you don't have it, if your picture is too horizontally, it's not fitting horizontally, you may have to adjust the horizontal width coil in order to get the picture to fit the screen, right Tim?
And be careful doing that. Follow our steps in that video.
Right, a TV alignment tool, Tim.
Right.
TV alignment tool.
Not an Allen wrench.
Right, and we have a link on our website to, I think, wherever we talk about adjusting the horizontal width coil that you can check out. You will need a TV alignment tool to adjust that. But try the adjustments on the monitor first. Try the pots on the monitor first before you try adjusting the horizontal width coil. Kind of a last resort option to me, Tim.
Hey, Barack is in the chat room.
Oh, there you go. So he says, thanks a lot. Well, you're welcome. Hopefully that gets your WWF Superstars back up and running really well. Tim, WWF Superstars is a really fun game, and it's really high in demand now.
It's funny. Lately, I have been on YouTube going back and watching old WWF matches.
Oh, I've got a WWE Network, man. I've got a subscription.
It's just so fun to go back and watch some of them.
The classic ones are the best, too. Like, the new stuff I just can't get into. But
I've been watching some documentaries on some wrestlers and stuff.
There is a 30 for 30 coming up on Ric Flair pretty soon.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so if you guys are pro wrestling fans at all, you've probably seen Ric Flair. So,
but that was a popular game when that came out.
Yeah.
There was a lot of quarters lined up there to get in and play on some of that action.
I think I've told you before, Tim, my dad would take me up to his office during the weekend sometimes because he had to get work done. And my dad's office was right next to where, like, the truckers and everything would stop.
Like the break room.
Yeah,
right?
the break room area. And so in the break room area, there was one arcade game. It was a WWF WrestleFest, which is the sequel to Superstars. And it was so much fun. I actually have a WrestleFest board, which they're pretty expensive now. Like, all that stuff's going pretty high. I still have a WrestleFest board. I need to find a cabinet to put it in because, that game is so fun. It really is. So, but there you go. WrestleFest is awesome. Love those games. And Barack says WrestleFest is my favorite, to be honest. And yeah, Superstars came before, and so it's not quite as good. Still fun, though, Tim. Both games are fun. So, good stuff. And YouTube Punk says Amazon has those TV alignment kits. They do, and we do have them linked on our website under adjusting the horizontal width coil. If you could do a search on our website, you'll find the link to the TV alignment tool.
Right, but hopefully you can just go in and do the monitor adjustments and fix that issue.
Yeah, absolutely. So
without needing a tool.
Right. So, Brock, hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting the adjustment on that WWF Superstars all in alignment. And again, adjusting an arcade monitor. Let me throw that URL back up here. ArcadeRepairTips.com. If you go to our website, just do a search for adjusting an arcade monitor. It'll be the first thing that comes up. Okay. So if you want to do that instead of having to copy down the URL and everything. But hopefully answers your question, and good luck getting that monitor adjusted properly. Okay, so let's go. Tim, before we go on, we have some live chat stuff here. Joe says, how about those Astros? Congratulations from an Indians fan. Hats off to you guys. Whoop, whoop. And we said congratulations to the Astros earlier, Tim. We're not Astros fans. I mean, we're fans, but we're not. We're Rangers fans, technically.
But the Indians are one of those teams I think they're due, too, for a World Series
Right.
win.
Well, I mean, last year,
and they had a pretty good team, so I really look for them to be a contender next year.
I think you're right, Tim. YouTube Punk says, would be cool to see Barack Obama as an NBA Jam unlockable player. I agree. We got Bill Clinton in there. I remember that. I don't know who else is in there as far as unlockables go, but I know that's there. Barack does say, thanks again for your help. I will definitely try. So, yeah, let us know how that goes. If you have any questions, Barack, about that process, let us know. Joe says, the Attitude Era of the WWF was the best because Stone Cold said so. Yeah. And I believe so. That is exactly right.
Stone Cold took Trump out one time.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right. Yeah. I think I remember that. WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, if you've ever seen Trump get knocked out, if you don't like Trump, you can go watch Stone Cold knock him out.
There you go. So, sounds good. We're totally off base here. I had to throw a
so.
WWF question on there, but yeah, I'm the same way. I love WWF stuff, the classic stuff, especially good stuff. So, and real quick, if you need a podcast to listen to, something to wrestle with, Bruce Pritchard. Need to listen to that. He worked for the WWF for a long, long time. Has stories about pretty much every wrestler you can name. So really fun podcast if you haven't listened to it. So, okay, Tim, back to arcade stuff. Man, we got off on a wrestling tangent there. So the next one we have here is from Jack, and Jack says, "I have an arcade game, a King of the Road Route 66. I need help with the computer message it gives. It always worked before, but now when you turn the machine on, it shows a game displayed with video and sound, then goes blank saying bad communication. Please help. I don't need an arcade game that big, not working in my garage. Thanks, Jack." And for those of you guys who aren't familiar with a King of the Road Route 66, it's kind of the same size as like an 18-wheeler, Tim.
Yeah.
Okay, if you guys have ever seen the Sega 18-wheeler, and in fact, it uses the Naomi board set too. They both do. And so these are huge cabinets, Tim, that we're talking about. But it is a Naomi board, Tim, so it's a little bit newer. And I believe that Play It Amusement still supports that, right?
Yes, they will. They probably will help you with it. But anytime you got a bad communication error, first of all, if it was just like an old school game in a newer monitor or a lot of newer games, if it says no signal,
right,
you'll know. I worked on a game today. It says no signal on the screen. I knew I'm having a problem with my motherboard because it's not communicating with my monitor.
Sure.
Check my connections and stuff. But when you get bad communication, that's a little different error.
Now, here's the thing here, Tim, is that he says it comes up, and then it'll give him the bad communication.
Right.
Okay, so it's coming up. It's like we're getting graphics, we're getting sound, then all of a sudden we get this bad communication.
That's what he told me is it's coming up, so it's booting up, but then, so you got more than one board in that game.
Right.
So what you have is you also have an I.O. board. When you're having bad communication, in other words, yes, the screen, the video, and all that is working, but when you go to move, adjust, coin up, do those things that an I.O. board does for you, or switches, which is basically like a keyboard encoder if you want to boil down to what an I.O. board is.
Right.
And so when you do an I.O. board, then you'll get that bad communication. So he probably is having a problem between the I.O. board and the main board, and it could be either one.
And I'm with you, Tim. And I
probably
threw that on
his I.O. board, though.
Right, I threw that on the outline here. And so you'll see your game uses the Sega Naomi 2 board set with an I.O. board, which is labeled 1. You'll see this little diagram I have here, Tim. This is from the manual. And this label 1 over here, this board, it's kind of in the upper upper left-hand corner, of this picture, is the I.O. board. Right. A bad communication message usually indicates a connection issue between the Naomi board and the I.O. board. You will want to check your wiring between the boards to make sure it's connected properly. You may need to repair or replace the I.O. board, because I.O. boards, it may have gone bad. There may be a chip on it that went bad. There could be connection issues, something like that. And so we definitely want to make sure that it is connected properly, but we may need to repair or replace it depending. Play It Amusements should be able to help you, Tim, like you mentioned. Do you remember what their website is off chance?
I believe it's Play It. I think it's straight up playitamusements.com.
Just playitamusements.com? Yeah. Okay, so you might try contacting
or Sega USA will send you there a lot of times.
Right, Sega USA, there you go. So you may want to contact either Sega USA or Play It Amusements just to see if they can help you out with that as well, if you check all the wiring and you're still having the issue. But Tim, a lot of times this just comes down to a bad connection somewhere, right?
Right. A lot of times.
And so just check your wiring, make sure that you're getting a good connection between that Sega Naomi board and the I.O.
If you don't have enough power, you'll get those errors too, because they can't communicate because you're not pushing enough power for allowing it to
Naomi
do that.
boards especially are power hungry. You want to make sure that you may even turn up your voltage a little bit past what we normally would, just so you can get the correct amount of voltage to that I.O. board as well, right?
Agreed.
So Jack, hopefully answers your question. Good luck getting your King of the Road Route 66 game back up and running. Okay, so let's check over I don't see anything new in the live chat over here, so I think we'll go on with another question here, Tim. You okay?
I'm having a cramp.
Oh, okay.
In my thigh.
Do you need to walk around real quick?
I may need to.
Okay, well, why don't you walk around and I'll read the next question. There we go. So, okay. So this question is from SDM. And he says, if I'm wiring a cabinet that has just one joystick, do I bundle up the Player 2 joystick and button wires or run them with the Player 1 wires? So some of you guys may actually know this. Now, Tim, before I go on here, Louis just posted in the live chat the Play It Amusements link.
Okay.
Which is at it looks like store.plateamusements.com. So you can actually go there and if you need to contact Plate Amusements, they have a phone number, technical support line that you can get in contact with. So Jack, if you need that, plateamusements.com is the website.
Right.
We have verified. So
Thank you, Louis.
how's your cramp?
It's going away.
Okay, well, if you need to walk
The
around
older
again, it's
I
okay.
get, the more cramps I get, and I hate them.
You know how it goes. I mean, we're all getting older, Tim. I hate to tell you that. So all of
After
us,
a day of climbing up and down ladders and under games, today was that day. So
I hear you. So okay, so let's go back to this. I'm going to reread the question here,
Okay.
Tim, since Louis kind of got in there. He said, okay, so this is from SDM. He says, if I'm wiring a cabinet that has just one joystick, do I bundle up the Player 2 joystick and button wires, or run them with the Player 1 wires? So Tim, we've got basically a cabinet that just has one joystick and maybe one or two buttons for a single player to play. Do we run just the Player 1 buttons up there and joystick wires, or do we run Player 1 and 2 all together?
just bundle them because
Bundle the Player 2 wires.
It
right?
will choose. You can choose that a lot of times in the settings. How many Player 1 cabinet?
Right.
Single player cabinet. Those type of things. So yeah, just bundle those wires and use the Player 1 joystick.
And that's exactly what I said here. I said in most cases you'll only want to connect the Player 1 wires if your arcade cabinet only has one set of controls. And Tim, I put a Pac-Man cabinet here because when we think of one set of controls, a lot of times we think Pac-Man cabinets.
Oh, yeah.
You can bundle the Player 2 wires in case you want to add another joystick and button set at another point in the future. With that said, make sure that you wire up the Player 2 start button.
Correct.
Okay, because that's very important. If you want to play two players, and Tim, this is not simultaneous two players. This is turn-based two players. So make sure you wire up the Player 2 start button, even if you only have one set of controls, so that you can play the turn-based two-player games like Pac-Man, Galaga, Donkey Kong, etc.
Right.
So, I mean, pretty simple question here, Tim, but one that a lot of, I think, people have, because if you've never wired a cabinet before, you may be thinking, it makes sense to put both
I
sets
can
up
remember
there.
wondering before, what should I do with this myself? So
Absolutely.
years ago.
So, SDM, hopefully it answers your question. Yes, you only want to send the Player 1 wires up there. Leave the Player 2 wire set bundled, except for the Player 2 start, which you will need to wire up in order to play two-player games. So hopefully it answers your question. Good luck with any wiring you may do in the future. You need to walk around some more?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
All right.
Go. So, okay, do I need to do like, I would do the Jeopardy theme, but I'm scared that we would get sued if I do that. So can if I do like 10 seconds of it? Okay, that's it. Okay, you guys just loop that in your head, okay? Just keep looping it. It'll be fine. Okay, here we go. So the next question we have is from Jack. And Jack says, can you please help me? I have a 412-in-1 cocktail arcade machine that keeps freezing and glitching when I move it down or up too hard. And Tim, I'm assuming he's talking about the joystick here. A 412-in-1 cocktail keeps freezing and glitching when I move it up or down too hard. So like I said, assuming it's the joystick, okay? What do you think is causing this 412-in-1 cocktail game to freeze up like this?
That's interesting because it only does it, he says, when he does it too hard. Most of the time, it sounds like it could be a short somewhere, like a wire is shorting out.
Right.
Especially if it resets or something like that. So
Sure.
look at your ground wires and make sure that something's, not hitting... hitting two things at once,
Right,
or
there's not
something like
some sort
that.
of weird connection,
Yeah,
right?
I would check your connections for sure, or you got a problem with your 412-in-1 board.
Right, and so that's kind of what I put here, Tim, and let's go ahead and show this slide here. From the description, it sounds like there may be a short or connection issue between your control panel and your 412-in-1 board. Make sure that the wires that run from the board to the controls are making a good connection. Check your voltage at the board to make sure it is correct. May need to turn it up just a bit past plus 5 volts DC in order to make it work properly. It's also possible, Tim, that he just has a busted board.
It's possible.
I mean, these 412-in-1 boards, Tim, they're cheaply made. Okay. In fact, all multicade boards are cheaply and quickly made. Okay, and so a lot of times they will die on you. I mean, we've had 16-in-1s, 412-in-1s. We've had them all die on us at some point, and so it's not unheard of to have those issues for sure. So you may have a busted board, but check your wiring. Maybe turn your voltage up just a tad. If you're still having problems, might need to contact whoever you purchased it from, or may need to just get a replacement 412-in-1 board. Tim, do you need to stand up?
No, I'm good.
Okay, we're good. Okay, now we got some stuff in the live chat here, so I'm
Okay.
going to jump to that from our outline here. Fox says, hey guys, I'm having trouble with my Sega Carnival Slimline. It's a problem with the start buttons. Any tips? Okay, so Fox, what kind of problems are you having with your start buttons? I guess is the question.
Well, obviously, he means
They don't start.
Yeah, they don't. So it's probably some kind of connection, Or buttons do go bad.
Right.
We don't mention that a lot. I was training a guy the other day, and I was showing him, generally every button you have 3 connectors.
Right.
One is your common, one is your normally open, and one is your normally closed. So you have 2 wires and 3 choices.
Right.
Normally you're going to choose the normally open because it's open until you close it or do something. What you can do is check that with a meter.
Let's talk about that for a second. So normally open means that the connection is like this, and when you press the button, it makes the contact and it connects the 2 wires. Normally closed means the connection is like this, okay, and then when you press the button, it opens it. Okay.
Think of it here, John. You be the wires,
okay,
and I'll be the cherry switch up on top. When you push that, it normally does that.
Right, so that would be normally open, but when you press it, it closes.
Right, and then the other is closed, and when you push it, it goes open.
Right,
so
exactly.
It does the opposite. So I hope that helps him a little bit to know how one works. So what you can do is take a meter, put it on your continuity test, and you put one lead on the bottom or the one that's not like the others.
Right.
And one on the top, you should get continuous because it's normally closed.
Now, Tim, Sega Carnival, if I remember correctly, is an older game. May have leaf switches, and sometimes leaf switches only have 2 options, right?
True.
So you won't have to worry so much about the 3rd pin if that's the case, but it depends on what buttons you have in your Sega Carnival, for sure.
But either way, you don't want the 2 leaves of the switch to touch until you push the button and make them touch.
Right, and that's what happens a lot of times with leaf switches, Tim, is that over time, from pushing the leaves down, the connection between the bottom leaf and the top leaf will get closer and closer until they touch.
Right.
And if they're touching already, then when you press the button, there's nowhere for them to go. They're still touching.
Exactly.
And so you may need to bend like the bottom leaf down just a bit so that when you press the button, it actually makes the connection, right?
Either way, it's probably either a wiring or, like on a lot of games, especially newer style, you have a terminal that goes onto there. A lot of times wires will get loose up inside that terminal, and you'll think you've got a connection, but you don't always. You can check for continuity again from the top of your switch down to your board and make sure that you have continuous there.
Right. And, the thing about using the terminals too, Tim, is a lot of times a wire will get loose in like the little sleeve where it goes.
Right.
Or the terminal itself will not be slipped onto the prong correctly. We've seen both things happen. And so, definitely want to check your terminals out there too, Fox.
Yeah, sometimes I've pinched a connector before, and I pinched the plastic, not the metal inside.
Right.
It actually was on the wire, but it really wasn't making a good connection.
Right, and that's something to always be aware of. So, Fox, hopefully answers your question. If you have any specifics, let us know in the live chat. Anything.
We can come back to that.
Right, we can come back to it, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Tim, we have, Stonefry here. He says, my friend has an original Mr. Do cabinet. The left one of the screen, I think that says, left 1 inch of the screen droops down dramatically. What's the easy fix?
Well, the easy fix is to do a cap kit because a lot of times that will fix that. If it's a G07 monitor, you can do the sync fix, which we reference a lot of times on the realbobroberts.net site.
Right.
And you can go there and see the sync SYNC fix.
Yes, SYNC, not like kitchen sink.
Right, not the kitchen sink. More
SYNC.
Yeah, the boy band.
Yeah, in sync. That's right. That was good. Did you come off the top of your head right there?
Yeah,
that was good. Boy band.
I was trying to think of how it was spelled.
Slice the N off, right?
Right.
Exactly. Like synchronous.
Right.
That's the whole idea. And so, now, Tim, you can try to adjust the holds or the sync adjustments if your monitor has those.
Sometimes that helps. If you'll actually check your holds, like he's saying, the vertical and the horizontal. Sometimes you can cause that to sink in. It's a sync issue.
Right, exactly.
More likely. But also bad caps are letting stuff go through that
letting some voltage bleed.
Right, so that it's getting out of sync because of that. So a cap kit or if it's a G07, I would definitely do the sync fix, which is check it out on his site. It's real simple, and it's a quick, usually easy fix.
Right. So our go-to on this though is cap kit, but you might try some adjustments first there, Stonefry, before doing the cap kit, just to see if you can get it adjusted out.
Right.
But a lot of times, Tim, if you're adjusting it out, it's because caps are failing, which is why that popped up in the first place. So adjusting it out will work for a while, but that cap will continue to fail. You'll continue to have the problem unless you replace them. So,
correct.
Stonefry, hopefully answers your question. Hopefully your friend can get that Mr. Duke cabinet back up and running 100% there. So, Okay, Tim, let's move to Tanner. Back to the outline real quick. Tanner says, I recently got a 1984 Nintendo vs. Excitebike arcade game. The game seems to work great, but the speaker just buzzes. Any tips on this for me, or any tips for me on this issue? Thanks, Tanner. Okay, Tim. So we have Tanner here who has a 1984 Nintendo versus Excitebike cabinet, okay?
Right.
So this is a Nintendo cabinet, Tim, which Nintendo cabinets are a little bit different than other cabinets just as a whole, right?
Right. The key word there is Nintendo.
Right.
It has a Nintendo monitor in it, which generally are just a couple.
Yes.
I mean, have seen other monitors in there, but from the manufacturer, most of the time it's either a Sanyo or a Sharp.
Correct.
And both of those have separate audio boards.
Right.
And so by rebuilding the audio or doing a cap kit on just the audio portion, a lot of times you'll get rid of that buzz sound.
Exactly. And so it's a really weird design that they put this little audio board on these monitors like this.
Yeah, it's on the monitor, whereas everybody else, the audio is on your main board or an amp or
yeah, exactly. A dedicated board. Right, exactly.
You wouldn't expect a monitor to have where your sound is, but it is separate from your monitor, but it's right there.
Okay, so there you go. So Tim's exactly right. In this particular case here, Tanner, you probably need to rebuild that sound board. And so, Tim, Nintendo games use a separate sound audio board that is known to cause humming and buzzing sounds when it is malfunctioning. We highly recommend installing a rebuild kit on your audio board to see if it solves the issue. And Tim, you can get rebuild kits from pretty much any of the parts distributors that we recommend. Arcade Shop. Mike's Arcade. So arcadeshop.com, mikesarcade.com. Those places will have these rebuild kits for your audio boards.
And when I think of Nintendo, I always think of Mike's Arcade. Seems like that's one of his specialties.
Absolutely, yeah. And it looks like Louis also put one in there for Ian Kellogg, which I ordered a cap kit from him recently, and it was really good. So he's another one you can get these kits from as well.
Awesome.
So these Nintendo rebuild kits are definitely what you need. You will need to determine which one you have, though, Tim, whether you have the Sanyo or whether you have the Sharp.
Right, because they have different cap.
They have different parts,
caps,
right? Exactly, different parts. It's not just caps, Tim, with the rebuild kits. A lot of times, you're also going to get transistors and maybe even some diodes with that too. So you'll need to figure out whether you have a Sanyo or a Sharp. And Tim, they usually say Sanyo and Sharp on them, which is actually pretty handy.
Right.
They don't always. You may need to look at some pictures online, but it's pretty easy to figure out which one is which. Make sure that you order the correct rebuild kit for your audio board. And Tim, once you install that audio board, you're good to go. Same way you do a cap kit. Okay,
right.
In fact, the majority of the kit is caps. There will be some other parts in there. Okay, but I mean, you just replace the parts that they tell you to replace, you'll be in good shape. So get you a rebuild kit, Tanner, for your audio board on your versus Excitebike cabinet, and hopefully it'll solve the buzzing issue you're having with your game. Okay, Tim, I think, let's see here, we've got DJ next. And DJ asked a good question, Tim, because we have a lot of questions about discharging tools.
Oh, yeah.
And DJ says, hi, guys. Great website that you all have put together. I had a question about making a CRT discharging tool from one of your videos. Can the cord be from any old appliance? Thanks, and keep up the good work. Now, Tim, for people who may not be familiar with the CRT discharging tool, what is it? How do you make it? And basically, what all does it consist of?
Well, he asked the question, could he use just about any old appliance tool?
Or appliance cord.
Right, appliance cord. As long as it's continually and it's shielded, has covering on the outside. You don't want to run a bare copper wire.
Right.
Then it should work okay. Most of the time, we recommend that you use like an extension cord or something you can buy brand new, and because it's cheap.
Right. And you can get indoor extension cords from Dollar Tree for $1.
Right.
Okay. There you go. So I mean, if you're looking for a cord to make a CRT discharging tool out of, go to Dollar Tree. They're in a lot of areas. Get you a $1 indoor extension cord. Cut off the ends. Get some alligator clips, and you're good to go.
And a really thin ribeye steak.
That's right, and a really thin ribeye steak while you're at the Dollar Tree.
If you listen to the podcast, you'll know that before.
Exactly.
So
yes, you can use the cord off an old appliance.
And what we do is we just we like to have a double-stranded cord or something that's pretty thick, and run 2 alligator clips. One we put onto the chassis frame.
Right.
And then the other one we attach to a screwdriver, long flathead. Then you can wear rubber gloves or whatever you're comfortable with and put it up under the anode or the suction cup looking thing on the tube.
Right.
And you will get a good nice pop.
And we usually use
it a couple times.
Right, we use the screwdriver to push down the wires of the anode so we can take it off a lot of times.
Now, everybody, every time we mention that, we got all the haters always come out, you should use a high voltage.
Or you should put a resistor in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad ideas. I mean, those are great ideas, but on a budget, sometimes they cost like $70 and up.
For the HV, right?
Right.
For the high voltage
Now, everything our research tells us is that if you're going to do a vector monitor, you for sure want to use one.
Yes, use a high voltage probe. Don't use the screwdriver
method. But if you're going to, for most what we do and what we show doing,
color roster monitors, the vast majority of monitors out there.
I've probably done it over 200 times. And still alive to tell most of the tales and very few injuries.
Yes, and you've never been shocked by a monitor.
Right.
Okay, maybe a few times. So there you go. So let me throw this up here, Tim, and I put a picture for those of you people who haven't seen a CRT discharging tool. But yes, the cord can be from an old appliance. Should work to make it, no problem. We usually recommend an AC extension cord indoor just because they're cheap, readily available. Don't require removing a cord from another product. And that's really what it comes down to. Some people recommend putting a resistor in line, and if you're going to do that, I think, Tim, the consensus is 1 mega ohm or more.
So all you're doing is drawing that current a little slower, not a really quick
quick pop to the frame.
It's more of a slower discharge.
Right. So where you see
I'm
this,
okay with that.
Where you see this green wire here, basically what you do is you cut that wire and then you splice in a 1 mega ohm resistor on each end. Okay, is all you do if you want to do that. And Tim, apparently that works pretty well for vectors too. You don't necessarily have to have the high voltage probe, but we're still going to recommend using the high voltage probe because I mean, if you're doing vector monitors, it's still the best tool to have. But this method, Tim, like you said, works great for color roster monitors.
Right.
Okay,
which are the majority of the questions that we get. Exactly,
by far. So to answer DJ's question, yes, you can absolutely use an old appliance cord, no problem. But the main thing here, Tim, is that you want to make sure that you have the alligator clips and you have a nice flat head to get under there, right? I mean, and that's what it really comes down to. Resistors help. The high voltage probe is the best if you have options, but not everybody wants to spend $70 on a tool you're only going to use maybe 1 or 2 times, right?
Exactly.
And so that's why the screwdriver method was invented, and it works really well. And so, but if you haven't seen our video on discharging a monitor, Tim, which we have, you need to go watch that because it shows you the tool and then it shows you how to do it. And so hopefully answers your question, DJ. And let us know if you do discharge your first monitor, how it went for you. Maybe you got scared when you heard that pop. I don't know. But it's always an exciting thing, Tim, the first time you do it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. Okay, Tim, I'm looking back over here at the chat, and it looks like we have Noah over here, and he says, I have a JAMA cocktail cabinet, and it won't allow me to select a game. The player select buttons both work per my continuity tester. What's next to test? Now, Tim, I assume he's got a multi-game, whatever he's got is a multi-game board, because he's saying it won't let him select a game. Now, Tim, on 60-in-1 boards, in order to select a game, even if you have the game on free play, what do you have to do?
You have to hit the start button.
Right, before it'll even let you move anything, right? And so that's something to keep in mind. If you have a 61 board, you have to hit the start button to unlock the game, if it's in free play mode, before you can actually select a game, right?
Correct.
And so now he says, let's see, it says the player select buttons both work per my continuity tester. So I'm trying to think, player select.
You should also have a menu test menu.
Right.
And look at your output, see if your buttons are working there.
Right, get into the test mode for your game. If you have a 16-in-1 board or a 412-in-1 board or any of the Game Elf boards, they all have input-output tests, Tim.
Yes.
All of them do. And so make sure that in that input-output test that it's registering everything properly. Tim, we talked about how to wire buttons and joysticks. Make sure that you've got them on the normally open setting, not the normally closed setting.
Correct.
So make sure that the wire is on normally open, which is the one closest to the ground.
Correct.
Typically. So make sure that you have the wire that is the activator for whichever button that you want. You want that one on the prong closest to the ground wire.
The middle one and the bottom.
One. Yeah, the middle one and the bottom.
That's the easy way I teach guys all the time. You got a top, middle. The top is closest to the cherry switch. The middle one and the bottom are the two that you normally hook up.
Some of the multi-game boards require you to coin up the game before you can move, too.
Maybe.
Okay, and so make sure that you coined up the game.
Make sure it's on free play.
Make sure if it's not on free play, make sure you coin it up before you do that as well.
Right, and you can add some more information if we're not hitting any of those things aren't. maybe a little bit more what kind of board it is and so forth.
Right, exactly. And we can help you narrow that down a little bit more.
You got to make sure that your ground, just because you got continuity on the main wire, do you have continuity on your ground wire too?
Right, going all the way back, correct.
Right.
So, just give us a little bit more information if you need a little bit more help. Hopefully, we've talked about a couple things here that may help you out. But you're in the live chat, Noah, so hit us back up. If we didn't quite get the gist of your question, we'll try to answer it a little bit further here. Okay, Tim, it looks like we've got one more question. This one is from Diego. And Diego says, "Hi, help please. My monitor has a brightness problem. When the picture is full of bright colors, the brightness goes up. When the picture has darker colors, the brightness goes way down, like a total black screen. Also, the brightness goes up and down like if you were the one moving the pot. Any ideas?" Okay, Tim, so we have Diego here, and he says he's got a real problem with his brightness, and I think we've seen this before in a lot of games here, Tim.
Right.
Where it's like whenever there's something white on the screen, all of a sudden the brightness really pops, but then when there's darker elements on the screen, they go really dark. And so what do you think is going on with Diego's monitor here to cause that issue?
Well, generally that's a flyback problem.
Right.
And that's not, so the high voltage section in the flyback area, is, so when you're going to bright screens, it's being pushed really hard, and then it's dying. Generally, it's not so much a cap because that's where your brightness is leaking.
Right, exactly.
So I would suspect the flyback. Also, caps will help. Doing a cap kit will help.
And if your monitor has a B plus adjustment, might try adjusting that as well. It may not be right where it needs to be, whatever that voltage needs to be for your particular monitor. So make sure you test and maybe adjust your B plus voltage if you're having this problem as well. But like Tim said, a high voltage problem for sure. Tim, we've seen flyback cause this a lot.
Yes.
And so I think flyback is a really good idea. But Tim, anytime you remove your chassis, and you haven't done a cap kit in a while, highly recommend a cap kit.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why, excuse me. So that's why we say random brightness changes like this are usually caused by issues in the high voltage section of your monitor, particularly the flyback. Try replacing the flyback to see if it makes a difference. We would also recommend installing cap kits if you haven't done it in a while you have the chassis out. Tim, I really do think that between those two things, he'll be in good shape. Maybe check the B plus voltage too, just to make sure. Because you want to make sure that that's getting good, that's a good enough voltage for that as well. So hopefully answers your question, Diego, and good luck getting those random brightness changes all fixed up on your monitor. Now, Tim, we got an update from Noah. He says, "Thanks, I will try a few of those things and get back to you." So
okay, Noah.
Noah, if we're not here, send us an email or leave a comment on the YouTube page for this channel. Or for the live show, and we'll get back to you at some point. So if you need a follow up on that,
or join us the second week of December.
That's right, or join us the second week of December, and we'll go from there. So now, Tim, we've been talking a lot about cap kits, capacitors, and things like that. But Tim, people may not know how to identify bad caps on their monitor board, audio board, etc. And so, for your tech tip this month, you wanted to talk about caps a little bit, right?
Right. You can have there's some really good tools, a multimeter that has capacitance test.
Or an ESR meter.
Or an ESR or Wizard, but most of those are around $200.
Right, they're kind of pricey.
Yeah, so, I always say trust your eyes and your ears.
Right.
So let's show these pictures of some examples, what we have noticed. We always like to talk about the first one being the popped top.
Right.
We always use the term that goes way back if you grew up in this era called the Jiffy Pop.
Right.
It looks like the Jiffy Pop popcorn on the stove. As it's about to pop, it's getting bigger and bigger. That's what'll happen, and trust me, they will eventually pop.
Right, and so in the first picture here, you'll see that we have this little pop top. Both these have just slightly pop tops. They're not as bad as some of the other caps that we've seen, but we've definitely seen a lot that are jiffy popped, like you say, Tim.
You can notice in that picture where you can really see that plus sign or the X, you might call it, is really defined because it's starting to really open up and spread apart a little bit. A new or a great cap, on the other hand, you won't see that. You can see it. It's very tiny, but it's not as defined or open as those are.
And in the upper left-hand corner here, Tim, we have a picture of a good capacitor, just to show you the difference. And
you'll see it.
Right, a good capacitor usually looks slightly indented when viewing them from the top.
Exactly.
In fact, if you rub your finger over the top, you'll be able to feel that indentation. When they go bad, though, you'll typically start to feel the bulge, and they'll lose that indented top, okay? Or you'll get leaking from the bottom. Let's go on here, though. The stretch top is also very, very common, Tim. And this happens a lot to capacitors that don't have the little X on the top.
Right.
Instead of that X starting to bulge, you'll get stretching around the top. So you'll see on these two that we have here in the stretch top, you'll see where it basically the the top of it used to be covered a little bit more. Now that wrapping that's around the capacitor is starting to kind of go off to the sides.
Yeah, you don't see much around the rim there either. It's
exactly.
A lot of. That's one good way maybe to put it. There's not no white wall around the tire.
Right.
It's kind of getting a little wider and wider. There's a lot of silver showing at the end.
Exactly, and that's a stretch top. So if you see stretch top, a lot of times that indicates that a capacitor's starting to go bad. And Tim, just a universal sign, I think, for most people that could spot them right off the bat, is a leaking capacitor.
Right.
And that's what we have on the third picture here, Tim. That capacitor is actually the capacitor, I think, that was causing the little dark spot on my monitor.
Right.
I actually pulled that off of the monitor, took a picture of it so you guys could see it right there. So, and it was definitely leaking. Now, this one also has a pop top as well. It's in this second picture here that you see, or the first capacitor you see left to right is the same capacitor as this one.
Yeah.
Those are both the same, and so you can see that we had leaking on it, and we had a little bit of a pop top. There's a lot of issues with that capacitor.
Yeah. Now, as a disclaimer, we should say that by all means, if you have the tools to use a capacitance tester, I have seen caps that look great
that
weren't very good.
Yeah.
And I've seen caps that didn't look so great that actually were okay, at least for the moment. But usually, one of the first things you can tell when I pick up a chassis, I can usually pick the bad caps. I would say 8 out of 10 times I can pick them out by sight.
There you go. So, yeah, but that's really kind of giving you the idea of what you're looking at as far as if you're trying to identify. Now, LB13 says, with a stretch cap, you cannot see or feel the indentions. You will feel a little bit of an indention, but you'll see, like we said, that wrapper that's kind of around it, the silver is starting to get wider on the top is what's happening. And so whereas that wrapping before kind of wrapped around maybe, I don't know, like 3 centimeters, now it's only wrapping like 1 centimeter around the top, basically is what happens. So as that capacitor expands, the little top of it turns more and more silver is basically what happens.
But he's right. Trust your senses, trust the way you feel. Check out a good one, see how it feels, and you will notice the difference in the bad caps a lot of times.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you look at like the kind of not the second and third caps, the third one has the stretched, and the second one has the little pop top. But you'll see that the wrapping around the pop top one is still pretty full around there, whereas the stretch top one, that wrapping's about to leave the edge. So, but that's really what it comes down to. So, hopefully that helps you out, though. Now, here's the thing, Tim. Like you said, just because a capacitor doesn't have a pop top or isn't leaking or isn't stretched doesn't mean it's not bad.
Right.
And so, you definitely want to use an ESR meter or a capacitance tester if you have access to those things.
Right.
So,
that's why a lot of times we recommend doing a cap kit. We're not trying to be lazy. We're just saying if you don't have the high dollar tools,
right,
sometimes you just replace them all while you're in there, and the ones that are bad you'll get, and the ones that aren't half good, you'll get those too and get a lot more life. So if you're going to keep the game, a lot of times we recommend just replacing them all.
And another thing, Tim, is that a lot of times the capacitors are all the same age. They were all installed at the same time. And so if one of them's starting to go bad, what's happening to the rest? They're probably getting ready to go bad as well.
Just be careful buying capacitors on eBay or somewhere where they could be already old in the beginning. So a lot of our guys are trusted that are on our site. You might save a couple bucks on eBay or something, but go to those guys that are going to get you the fresh, best
Ian Kellogg,
capacitors.
Syracuse Semiconductor, some of the guys that we recommend on our resources page at arcaderepairtips.com/resources are going to be the best place to get your capacitors. So, Tim, I think that's a pretty good lesson for everybody, just knowing how to identify those bad capacitors.
Yeah, the one thing about a good tech is using your eyes, and your other senses. But always trust your meter over everything.
And, something we talked about in the seminar that we did at the HAG, Tim, is touch. If chips are hot, they're probably malfunctioning.
Right.
Okay, so sense of touch. If you touch a chip and that thing is burning up, it's probably bad.
There you go.
Okay, so that's something else that you definitely want to keep in mind as well. So like you said, use your senses, look at caps, senses of touch, really important in arcade repair, guys. So
for sure, if you see a bad bulging cap, though, be really careful and go ahead and change it out. Don't... if you got a party or something, it's really better to turn that game off, wait on it, because I had one bust right in my ear. I lost my hearing for a couple of days, right near my ear. I was down there with the game on, and it was like somebody shot a pistol right near my ear, and it was really bad. So if you see that, by all means, until you get it fixed, don't play your game like that.
There you go. So thanks, Tim, for your tech tip this month. And guys, if you have any specific things you want Tim to talk about in his tech tip, leave us a comment here on this page or send us an email, questions@arcaderepairtips.com, and Tim will try to answer whatever questions you may have about just general tips for arcade repair.
And we try to keep it short, something that we can go over or show or demonstrate quickly. So
there you go. So, Tim, let's go ahead and talk about a couple of things. Well, before I do, Albie says, I have seen people put heat sinks on chips for older games like Pac-Man. And, Tim, that's very common. And those heat sinks, of course, are to keep the heat, to dissipate the heat coming from the chip.
Sure.
And so, yeah, if you see heat sinks, a lot of times they do that so that, obviously to dissipate that heat. But, Tim, if a chip is hot to a touch, like scalding hot to the touch, you're probably having an issue with it.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. So, Tim, moving on here, we want to talk about the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game announced by Raw Thrills, Tim. And this is exciting because guess what? It's a new game that uses joysticks and buttons. Who would have thought, right? When was the last game you saw with joysticks and buttons at Chuck E. Cheese there, Tim?
Johnny Applespeed.
Oh,
and I just threw it in the dumpster today.
Well, there you go. So there's no longer there. Well, hopefully, Tim, this new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game will mean that they're making a comeback.
Yes.
And, guys, you guys can get all the details at our friends on the Arcade Heroes, Tim. ArcadeHeroes.com has all the information. But, Tim, the things you need to know is that it's a 4-player beat-em-up action game similar to the original Konami games.
That's awesome.
Which a lot of people remember with very fond memories, right? Mm-hmm. It has LED joysticks and LED buttons for attack and jump for each player that light up during the attract mode and gameplay. So, whenever one player comes in, it lights up that panel, which is really cool. A really cool little feature. Has a 55-inch HD monitor.
Yes, that's one thing I've noticed. All the new games that we got today, 47-inch, 52-inch monitors, stuff like that. There seems like that's
well, why not? They're cheap
norm.
now, right?
Right.
I mean, comparatively. I mean, for what like an old 27-inch tube cost back in the day, you could get you a 50-inch LCD, right?
We have a 32-inch. It looks tiny in our game room
right,
compared to everybody else.
Absolutely.
The Cruisins have huge monitors in them.
Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. And, Tim, the nice thing is it's a wide control panel that allows 4 players to play comfortably.
Well, it wouldn't be Ninja Turtles if it didn't have a 4-player game, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's what it comes down to. So, okay, Tim, now we'll go ahead and finish this up here. We got some feedback on Facebook from a couple of people. Joe said, okay, that looks awesome. Teenage Ninja Turtles was certainly one of my favorite arcade games ever. This new one looks like it'll live up to the Konami ones. And I hope so, Tim. I hope it does really good. Billy says, very cool. Redemption option seems a little weird, though. And, Tim, they did say this would have a redemption option.
Okay.
But everything has to have a redemption option right now,
pretty
right?
much.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't, you're not going to get it into an arcade, pretty much. So, and then David says, sweet. Can't wait to play it. Guys, if you have any thoughts about this new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, please let us know in the live chat. We'd love to hear some more thoughts on it. But Tim...
especially if you played it.
Exactly.
That'd
but
be cool.
For Tim, me personally, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to playing it. Hopefully we get to play one soon.
I do know that there's one coming to Chuck E. Cheese in the DFW area soon. And when I can officially announce that, or exactly which store it goes to, I'll let everybody know, because we got a lot of listeners in that area, or maybe we'll just make a road trip and go play it and shoot a video or something.
There you go. So, guys, give us some feedback on the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game by Raw Thrills. We'd love to hear it. Now, Tim, we got some live chat here while we are going on. Now, Barack did say great news, and I agree. That is great news. But let's see here. YouTube Punk says, did Tim do a tech tip on what's in his tool bag? No, you haven't done that, have you? But we did shoot a video on your first arcade toolbox.
Yes.
Which is a little bit different. Maybe we need to see what's in your tool bag.
Maybe so.
So that's a good idea. So we'll throw that on the idea pile.
Maybe I need to clean out my tool bag and get it to where stuff I need. There's no telling what's in there.
Yeah, we'd probably find like a coax stripper and all sorts of...
Something might bite you in mine. I don't know. It's pretty... It has every tool in there except for the one I need.
Oh, that's always how it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there you go. So Albie says, it's cool to hear this news. Sounds promising. So
yes.
Teenage Ninja Turtles definitely for sure. Okay, now Tim, before we move on to our next piece of news, Noah followed up here on his multicade question. He says, I turn on the machine and now my screen is blocks of multicolors and says test next. None of my buttons are doing anything. Oops, what did I do? Now, Tim, I can almost tell you it sounds like he has a 61 board.
Yes.
And he's in test mode.
Yes.
And so in order to advance past that, Noah, you're going to have to switch the test mode button.
Yes.
That's what you'll have to do. So press the test mode. So go down and back up if you have a physical switch, or press it again if you have it. And that should get you past that screen. That'll get you to the dip switch test settings.
Correct.
And then you'll have to go all the way to the end to get to the I/O test, unfortunately.
Right.
So you'll have to hit that button like 60, 70 times.
A lot.
Because you have to get past all the dip switch settings for each game. So, yeah. So once you do that, you'll get to IO test, and that'll allow you to change all the buttons.
I think if he cannot get out of there, or maybe his button's not wired up or not working,
right,
I think that he can just turn it off and let it dump its memory. Won't it re-clear after a while?
I can't remember.
I think so.
Yeah,
it
maybe.
Seems like it does. Unless it's stuck in test mode. But just keep hitting that button, like you said, or switch, whatever yours does.
Sounds good. So, no, hopefully answers your question. Yeah, hit that test mode switch again, should bypass you past that screen, and then continue on from there. Okay, Tim. Well, we promised this earlier, so let's talk about this and more Super NES Classic Edition talk here, Tim. Walmart, GameStop, and Toys R Us replenish their Classic Edition stock. And this is from Time. Tim, we have, like, I guess, is that an ambulance, fire truck, something coming by?
I thought maybe it was the police. I was fixing to hide.
There you go. So, guys, here's the deal. Walmart, GameStop, and Toys R Us have replenished their Super NES stock pretty regularly, Tim.
Yeah, it seems like if you want one of these, you're having a lot easier time than finding the NES Classic.
Exactly, big time. It seems like Nintendo is doing a much better job of keeping these in stock. Stock is getting replenished all the time, so guys, check your retailers on a regular basis to see if they have one, okay? We have talked to several people on Facebook and Twitter who have had success.
Right.
Which means that if you don't have one already, there's a good chance you will get one. If you haven't gotten one, don't worry, more stock on the way through the holiday season. And Tim, I can't stress this enough, don't pay the scalpers. It's kind of like don't feed the trolls.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, let's not pay people who are scalping these things. Don't panic.
Yeah.
There's more coming. You'll get one, okay? But just check your Walmarts, check your GameStops regularly. Because so far, I've had the best success at those two places, okay? As far as the ones that I've found. So, yes, they are out there, guys. Walmart, GameStop. Toys R Us will have them, but they've been announcing when they have them, so you'll find out really quick. But those places, check them on a regular basis. You're sure to get one very soon, okay? And as we know what retailers have them, we'll give you a heads up. Sure. We gave you guys a heads up that Target would have them in stock. And so hopefully some of you guys got in on the Target deal that happened just a couple of days ago. They had stock, Tim, exclusively for red card holders. Okay. So you either had to have a Target red card credit card or red card debit card in order to get on that. The nice thing is that the debit card is free and you don't have to worry about credit checks or anything like that. So if you didn't have one already, it might be good to go ahead and get one because I bet we'll see that again before the end of the holiday season.
Probably. And then probably kept your competition down a little from trying to get one.
Right. So there you go. So okay, let's continue on here, Tim. Oh, okay, this is like the last thing before we move in kind of to the announcements and everything. The Houston Area Arcade Group Expo, Tim. Me and Eric and Chris were there, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who came out and played games with us. It was awesome. The seminar was on Saturday at 4, and we will be posting that to our YouTube page very soon. You guys will get to see the seminar with me, Eric, and Chris. Big thanks to Keith for doing all of the for doing all the planning and for allowing us to do the seminar, and a thanks to all of the organizers and volunteers who made the expo possible, Tim, because it was really a good time. And Tim, there was a couple of unique pieces that we got to play that I wanted to talk about real quick.
Oh, cool.
And I didn't get to play this at Texas Pinball Festival, the head-to-head option, but I did get to play it here, and that is the P3 heads-up game, which is a head-to-head gameplay. Really fun.
Oh, okay.
So you and a buddy kind of get on them there, and you basically there's green lights and there's red lights, and the object is to hit as many green lights as you can. And every time you do that, it adds and subtracts from your score or your buddy's score.
Cool.
So it's very competitive. It's a lot of fun. Very quick play, and I hope that they can get that working over the internet so you can play against other people. Tim, I got to play Star Wars. Star Wars Pinball, and meh.
Really?
It's okay. I mean, it's got a whole bunch of cool bells and whistles on it, but as far as the gameplay goes, it's okay.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's worth the price of admission.
If somebody gave you one, you wouldn't sell it, though. You'd keep it, right?
Oh, I'd keep it,
okay.
yeah. But I mean, the price, Tim, for the amount that they're charging for these new pinball machines, I think it's too high. Okay, that's what I will tell you. I would rather have an AC/DC, if that says anything, or a Ghostbusters, right? Or a Ghostbusters, just because I think they play better. Now, Tim, this next one kind of just looks like a Miss
Pac-Man.
Except it's playing Pac-Man 256.
Ah.
And so you can't see the marquee, but it actually says Pac-Man 256 on it.
Okay.
And so what somebody did is they took a Pac-Man cabinet and they modded it with an LCD and put Pac-Man 256 in there, which is a mobile game. And if you haven't played it, it's really awesome. It's a lot of fun. So you should definitely check it out on your mobile phone. But it was cool to have like an actual stand-up version of the game. Pretty neat. And then Keith found this, but he was able to get a a 5200 from our friend. And that was really awesome. So I mean, it was really a cool thing. I mean, it's a neat little piece of history, I think, Tim.
Yeah,
overall,
and that's what's neat about the Houston show. They have a lot of different stuff like that, a lot of console stuff. So if you're into that,
there you go. So okay, now Barack, who answered his question earlier, says we don't have the international donation option on. Yeah, I don't know. We'll look into that. So if you guys who are international want to donate, you can do that.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you for wanting to donate, though. We appreciate that a lot. So, but we'll turn that on for the next live show, so you guys will have it there. Okay, Tim. Okay, last call for the live show. So if you guys have anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap up here, let us know because we're wrapping up.
Right.
Okay. So let's recap some of the announcements we had at the beginning of the show here, Tim. Again, guys, programming note: December live show, episode 10, will be the second Thursday of the month at our regular time because the first Thursday of the month I've got tickets to a concert. So December 14th at 5:30 Central Time, Tim, I will have a Christmas present for you.
Oh,
I'm telling you right now, because
wow.
it'll be like 15 days from Christmas, or less than that, 9 days.
I get to open it on the air.
Yeah, or 11 days. Man, I can't do math. 11 days till Christmas then. So it'll be 11 days till Christmas. You can open it on the air if you want to. There will be Christmas presents. Tim, it's hard to think about December's just around the corner.
Oh, it is crazy, isn't it?
But anyway, guys, December 14th at 5:30 will be the next live show. We will not do it on the first Thursday of the month for this particular month. And then, guys, we also have the online store special for those people who are live show viewers. You can get our volumes 1, 2, and 3 for only $38. That's $7 off our regular price. Again, 60 minutes of never-before-seen bonus material that you won't find here on YouTube. Yeah. So, to get this special pricing, arcaderepairtips.com/store/sale.
Good thing to screenshot and pass on to your wife or
That's right. Great Christmas presents. That's right. Order now for Christmas. Order now for Christmas.
There you go.
So, and get the promotion. Yeah, exactly. And get the promotional pricing. You don't want to pay the extra $7, right, Tim?
Right.
So there you go. arcaderepairtips.com/store/sale. And Tim, let's go ahead and talk about our contact information. Our email address is questions@arcaderepairtips.com, questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Put live show in the subject, you'll get it mentioned on the show, or leave us a comment here in this live show, and we'll cover it on the next live show. Okay, so you guys have an option there. You guys are on our YouTube page. That's at youtube.arcaderepairtips.com. Like I said, any comments from the last live show will be covered on the next episode. You got our podcast email, Tim, and that goes to Eric and Chris. And Tim, I don't know if Chris is going to be able to do the podcast any longer. I got an email from him, so Eric may be finding another teammate soon. But if you want to send an email their way, that's at podcast@arcaderepairtips.com. And of course, Tim, you can subscribe to that podcast on iTunes at itunes.arcaderepairtips.com and stitcher.arcaderepairtips.com, depending on what platform you use. And then, Tim, we want to remind everybody of our Facebook and Twitter pages. Facebook.arcaderepairtips.com and Twitter.arcaderepairtips.com. Louis in the chat tonight. We want to thank him for everything he contributes to the Facebook page, Tim. And we want to thank everybody who contributes to our Facebook page. A lot of great information there about arcade news and restoration information, all sorts of good stuff.
We don't say this enough, but we would welcome anybody's contribution. We've had other people write a blog or share a video or something.
Right.
We've always said that's why it's called Arcade Repair Tips, not the Tim and Johnson Show.
Right. So here's the deal, guys. We're always looking for content. So if you know something about arcade repair and you can write an article, you can film a video, you can record audio of you talking about whatever the thing is you know about arcade repair, send it to us. We'll give you credit, and we'll put it up on our website in some form or fashion. So this is a great way. If you guys have a YouTube channel that you want to promote, you can do a video for us showing you doing an arcade repair tip, and then plug your YouTube channel at the end of it, and we'll review it. If we like it, we'll put it up there, and you'll get full credit for it.
Sure.
So, but again, this is Arcade Repair Tips, not Tim and Jonathan Arcade or anything like that. Right. It is Arcade Repair Tips, which means that anybody can contribute. And so, yes, if you would like to contribute anything that you know about arcade repair to the greater Arcade Repair Tips community, we would love that. So, again, if you have any questions about that, contact us at questions@arcaderepairtips.com. Well, Tim, I think that does it for this episode, except maybe an after show. Are you
tired? A small one.
Okay,
I'm really sleepy.
I know you are, and I know you need to get home. What time?
And I got to celebrate. Tomorrow? This is one of my favorite holidays.
Oh, what's the holiday?
Half Price Candy Day.
Oh, Half Price Candy Day. Oh, yes, of course.
Well, Half Price Candy Week. It's
that's right.
25% off yesterday. It starts hitting the 50 and 75 towards the end of the week. But, of course, the candy selection gets pretty ranked, too.
There you go. So, you definitely want to pick it up on the first couple of days.
Snickers and stuff today, but by the end of the week, it's like Dum Dums and
You just be like me and eat your leftovers.
Yeah, there you go.
And there it is right there. So, guys, we want to thank you so much for joining us. If you guys are getting off here, the after show, of course, we talk about all things, movies, TV shows, and other cultural things. So you guys can stay around for that. It'll be here in just a minute. But if you're getting off here, we want to wish you the best. Thank you for joining us tonight and watching the Arcade Repair Tips live show. And remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when we fix the game, we play the game. Take care, everybody, and good night.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. All of our past episodes are available on our website at arcaderepairtips.com or on our YouTube page. This show is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please consult a professional before attempting to repair any coin-operated machines yourself. The preceding program is a Varcade Entertainment production.
We're not.
Is that better? Yeah. Sorry, we forgot to turn on the mic. Okay. So Tim, you forgot to tell us about your trip to California. Let's talk about that.
It's good because I had a mouthful of candy and I don't know how plain that come out.
Okay, so how was your trip to California? We didn't talk about that during the show.
I enjoyed California. We just did a lot of work, and I didn't really have much time to sightsee or meet up with anybody. I didn't have time. We just went to work. It was dark. Got home, and it was dark. Way different than I expected. We were in Silicon Valley near San Jose. People were super friendly. Everything was much smaller there though than I thought. And then you think about it, like going to a grocery store here. Our Walmart is like 10 city blocks. And it's huge.
Yeah, if you put it in New York City, it probably would be 10 city blocks.
Yes, and their grocery stores were really small, and
right.
Because of the price of real estate and so forth. But the produce was, you could just walk in and smell like you're walking into your grandpa's old garden or something. You just smelled the greens I just really enjoyed the food, and the people were so nice. They're not real big on sweet tea out there though. So from a Texan, that's like, I don't know. Just I felt I couldn't get a sweet tea, and they kept bringing me tea with some sugar packets.
Right, exactly.
And I could not quite, get that. So I even went to a Texas-style barbecue place. That's what I said, Texas-style barbecue.
They didn't have sweet tea?
They had, I said, no, you have sweet tea. Yes, I have sweet tea. And then they brought me tea with sugar packets. And if those of you who know, that is not for Texas.
Not sweet tea.
It's got to be brewed in there. It just doesn't taste right.
Yeah.
But overall, had a great trip. Want to go back and may end up going back before long. So maybe I'll have a little more time or can plan it out. It was kind of a rush trip and kind of threw me out of Houston and so forth.
That's right, because you're supposed to go to Houston with us.
Yes, and so, just one of those things.
Now, Dos Bacon asks where are we from, and he guesses Texas. And that is correct. We are from Texas. We are located in Texas. In fact, the intro, I think, says that, Tim.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Hang on. We'll throw it back up here.
The world headquarters.
Oh, is it world? I forget what it says. Let me see.
Broadcasting from their world headquarters in Texas, it's the Arcade Repair Tips live show.
Well, headquarters in Texas.
The show that discusses arcade repair.
Okay, there you go. So yes, we are in Texas.
We're in East Texas.
Now,
we're in East
Texas.
But
Your hosts,
a lot of people
Tim
call
and
it like
Jonathan.
Beaumont, East Texas. Mm-hmm. Texas is so big. We're like halfway between Dallas and Shreveport, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. Right off the interstate, so not too far. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, I really the traffic in California was really tough.
Right.
I was amazed at how quiet it got at night. It was so quiet I couldn't sleep.
Wow.
And the reason why? Everybody goes to bed early.
Right.
And I was like, why? I thought California would be up all night. Mm-hmm. No, they go to bed early because they get up at 3 and 4 in the morning and go to work and beat the traffic. So it was really a different experience than I expected, but I did enjoy it. Of course, I was just a quick trip, but it was so beautiful. I just wasn't really expecting, kind of blown away with how, and then going to Apple headquarters, oh my gosh, we have towns here in Texas that are smaller than that place and less people that are in that area. So, that was a good trip overall. So what have you been doing since you went to the Hag?
Yes, I went to the Hag, and it was fun. I hope to have the thing up there about that. I also, let's see, we had Halloween, so trunk or treats and things like that. I put together the game for my church. I put it up there. They're enjoying it now, so it's being played. It has a 412-in-1 board in it. Man, I can't even think of everything we've done since the last show.
Now, you put the timer board in there, right?
Right.
How's that working?
It has a timer board that shuts the game off after 3 hours so that we don't have issues with, people leaving the game on. And it seems to be working really well. So, I have a wiring diagram of how I did all that. I might share at some point once I clean it up a little bit.
I think people will find that very interesting.
Now, we have some things. Let's see. Stonefry says you don't like your tea crunchy?
Oh, gosh.
So, Dos Bacon says, I have family in Plano. We know where Plano is. In fact, my brother was born in Plano. So, we lived there whenever he was born. So.
And I will throw a little hint that I think that will be an area that may see a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle show.
I would imagine so. So, now, Louis, we usually talk about movies and things. Louis says, who's going to the midnight showing of Thor? And Albie13 says, Thor is epic, but I will wait for a moment before going. Tim, are you going to go see Thor anytime soon?
I would like, probably after a week or two is out. Yeah, I would like to see it, for sure. It looks like a really good, interesting one. But probably not opening weekend. It's not one of those type movies for me.
Yeah, me neither. And I think I'll wait. Tim, there's so much going on this weekend.
Oh my gosh.
And from now until Christmas, basically
yeah.
after the first of the year, it's going to be really busy. So I don't know if I'm going to have time to go see it at any time in between. But I love the Marvel movies. And speaking of Marvel movies, I did see Spider-Man Homecoming.
I did too. I
And
saw
it was
it on
good.
the plane.
Yeah, it was good. What do you think?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was okay. It
Well
was,
done.
In fact, it was made the plane trip down there quite enjoyable. I did not realize that, I don't fly very often. So, when I saw the screen coming down, I'm like, hey, what's that? And the lady said, you want some earplugs? And I'm like, yeah. And so I couldn't figure out where to plug them in. And finally somebody showed me. And then I watched it on the plane to San Jose. And I thought it was just good. It's like, how many ways can you present it? But I like that it went more into that teenage experience of him and who he was and being Peter Parker and stuff. And so it was good. It was definitely worth a watch.
Right, yeah. Oh, Das Bacon says, time to drive home in Southern California traffic.
Oh, my gosh.
Have a good night. So, good luck on your commute.
Well, yeah, it is about that time. And that was another thing, getting used to
yeah,
the
because like
time
right now
that
it's 5
only
o'clock.
5.
Yeah, I was about to say it's 5
Yeah,
o'clock there.
so I feel for you, brother. That was some times you did not want to be, but a lot of times you don't have a choice.
Exactly.
The traffic was in, but I'll tell you what was weird was the motorcycles could split lanes.
Right.
And I almost took out a guy, not even noticing, trying to take a picture of a palm tree while we're stuck in traffic, and this motorcycle comes right by, literally about this close to my camera, because I'm sticking it out the window, and I almost tagged him coming by about 60 or 70 miles an hour. But that was something to get used to. You don't see that here in Texas, where just motorcycles cutting through lanes and stuff
absolutely.
like that.
So, Tim, any other movies? Now, go ahead. I'm going to say something here in a second.
I've been watching. I know the new release of Stranger Things 2 has come out.
Right.
But it's like I'd been so long since I saw Stranger Things 1, I'm going back and watching. I want to really bad, but I'm like, gosh, I really don't remember everything. So I'm watching the Stranger Things 1, Series 1. And, so I've been enjoying that.
I haven't seen any of them, so I need to go watch them.
You really need to. It's like a cross between, I would say, E.T. and Stand By Me.
That's what people are always saying, Goonies.
Yeah, Goonies. It has that feel, but it's really good, and some of the actors and stuff they do a phenomenal job. And it's well written and kind of a little spooky,
Oh, Barack says it's 3 a.m. in the morning there.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, you need to go sleep. Don't stay up for us, man. So we try to pick a time that's convenient. It's just hard to.
Yeah, isn't that a Matchbox 20 song? It's 3 a.m.
Yeah, must be lonely. That's right. Matchbox 20.
Hope you're not lonely.
That's right. Hey, he's got us. We're here.
Yeah.
It's interactive.
Some people like working. I always worked overnights a long time. I'm much better a night person than I am a daytime.
There you go. Well, Tim, the problem with Stranger Things is I got too much to watch. I'm watching The Gifted on Fox, which is the X-Men series. I'm watching Mr. Robot on USA, which I absolutely love that show. I'm watching Designated Survivor with Kiefer Sutherland. I'm watching Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow. I mean, I've got so much stuff on my DVR. It's like, it's so full every week. I can't even watch everything.
But it's so funny not watching regular TV at all.
Right.
It's like, I've been watching some sports games and stuff, but it's like, there's too much out there to watch. But I will admit that I have been watching something that probably, I really would never think I would have liked it. And once I liked it, I watched 2 seasons and got really into it, and I'm waiting for another season. And it will probably shock a lot of people, but I liked Haters Back Off.
Okay, what is Haters Back Off?
Okay, so see, if you don't know, then you don't know. It is it's a comedy. It's about a girl who thinks she can sing, and she obviously cannot sing, can't sing very good. She gets on YouTube, and she makes a video, and she has like 73 hits, and she's like, and she's real animated. It actually will make you think, if people watch, you have to YouTube this, Miranda Sings.
Okay, Miranda Sings.
If you YouTube Miranda Sings, number 6 celebrity on YouTube.
Okay.
So she is big time.
Right.
Okay. She's actually a comedian named Colleen who plays this character.
Oh,
she
gotcha.
made up this character, got on YouTube one day and act like she couldn't talk and kind of acts real goofy and nerdy, and I'm going to sing a song for you. And everybody is just hating on her. Like, you're the worst singer ever. Well, it goes from 73 views to 200 and something to over a couple million because everybody thinks she's so terrible. But then when you realize she really can sing, she worked for Disney.
Oh, wow.
And singing Frozen, she got tired of it, and she just thought, well, let's make it funny.
Right.
And she is hilarious. And the show is really about her, about this character, but it's really a lot about her. It's kind of like she's portraying kind of what really happened to her, and it shows how, she's just like, it makes it on YouTube, and everybody thinks her family, everybody just thinks she's kind of a loser.
Well, you think about all of those terrible people on American Idol who ended up getting record deals,
Yeah, then all of a sudden, kind of they got the opposite.
Yeah.
You have the great
William
singers,
Hung, right?
then you have the bad ones. Well, that's her.
Right.
She's a bad singer and bad actress, but she's actually a great actress. She's actually very good. So if you just want to YouTube Miranda Sings and listen to her, she's so
where
funny.
do you find the show?
It's on Netflix. And it's what she does is I'll say this. She obviously, it's really pretty clean. Like you could watch it with younger people around.
Right.
But it's also, she kind of makes fun of that, her wholesomeness. Like she wants to sing in the church choir, and they don't want to kick her out, even though she's bad, because they're supposed to be showing the love of Jesus.
Right.
But at some point, the love runs out, and they got to tell her to leave, because she's
Gotcha.
horrible. And she thinks she's awesome. She's, well, y'all need to pick it up, because I'm singing out, and I can't hear nobody, and, Anyway,
Miranda Sings.
Just watch a YouTube video. Tell me if you think it's funny. Then watch the show. And the show really develops a story and starts getting this about a guy that likes her. And she's like, I can't date you. I'm too famous, And they're really good friends. Eventually, they're going to... you'll see how they get together.
Right.
I think it's a true story a lot about her life. Her and her husband produce it.
Wow.
And if you like... let me compare it to, you remember the Saturday night skit, Mary Catherine Gallagher?
Yeah.
Where she wore the skirt and she would sniff her armpits?
Right.
And then she would do like Superstar.
Right.
Remember the movie?
Molly Shannon, right?
If you think that's funny, you will love Miranda.
Okay.
Miranda's even more animated with her facial expressions. She's all like, cocks her eyebrow up, and she's like, well, I'm going to sing, and you guys are going to love it. And it's just silly, but it shows the world we live in, how things have changed. And, and her crazy uncle is like, we're going to come up with the 5-fold method to get you famous. And we're going to build a theme park, and we're going to do this. And, it's just funny. And then all this stuff starts kind of happening. And, people that made fun of her, that's the name of Haters Back Off. That's one of her phrases she says online. Oh, haters back off. I don't care. She literally does it to get a rise out of people, but she gets millions of views from it. Just sitting there. So I'm thinking that maybe we need more haters, so we could increase the
views. There you go.
Yeah, maybe I'll just we're not going to do it with a discharge voltage. I'm just going to do it with a long screwdriver and not even skip the cord. I don't know what we can do, but
I don't like to set things on fire typically. But anyway,
I've seen a few. There was a few things I would set on fire, but
there you go. Now I did finish up Red Oaks. If you've got Amazon Prime,
yeah,
Red Oaks is really good. It's about a country club in the 80s.
Okay.
And the kid's a tennis pro, and they just had their third and final season. It was really funny and good.
You like crime dramas a lot too, right?
I don't watch a whole lot of crime drama. The only one I'm watching right now that's kind of like that is Wisdom of the Crowd with Jeremy Piven. Have you seen that?
No.
It's on CBS, and basically he develops a website where they post things like let's say a suspect in a crime, and then they solicit people on their smartphones to give information about that person.
Right.
Okay, so it's about solving crime using crowdsourcing.
Okay.
Is what the show's about. It's very interesting, but that's about the only crime drama type thing.
I just think it's funny though that I don't get my political views or anything from Hollywood.
Right.
They're entertainers to me. They're funny, but it's amazing how you can mess up. I think about how popular I was really getting in House of Cards, and then all of a sudden Kevin Spacey gets in trouble, and now he has without a job and may not get one again.
Right.
So, I can't imagine what it'd be like to be in that public eye, but really all it takes is just one viral video, so we keep trying to set stuff on fire, we'll see what happens. We're very thankful for our loyal listeners.
That's right, exactly.
We do have
loyal viewers, right?
Loyal viewers.
That's right. So hey, and they had a good time in the live chat, obviously.
Oh, good.
So
yeah,
it looked like they did. So a lot of them are gone now. So but for those of you guys who joined us, thank you. And if you're still on,
several are still on. So
yeah,
thank you guys.
Still on. So thank you.
And
guys
I don't
for
know why
there.
we just randomly talk about stuff because we like a lot of stuff. Because I think that it shows who we are. We're not just about games and stuff. We're about having fun, no matter what it is. We love movies and we like sporting events. And
politics.
What do you think about it? We'll go into that. What do you think about Ezekiel Elliott getting suspended? I mean, there's a couple things that you know, and it's hard because you can be biased when you're a Cowboys fan. Because I know people that are like, if that was anybody else,
well, here's the deal.
You'd be like,
here's where I lay.
Get rid of them.
Okay, here it is. If they've got that much evidence, he should be in jail.
He should be.
Okay, so he either needs to play,
right,
or he needs to be in jail.
Right.
I think the suspension is stupid. Okay, because I think, look, if you've got that much evidence against a person that you can suspend them for that long, and you say, look, we found out stuff that we believe is true. If you've got true stuff, you should be giving it over to the authorities, and the authorities should be investigating it, and if it's all true, they need to arrest him.
Here's my question. I can never get it through to the sport talk show.
Oh, okay.
Okay? You think about how many years has Ezekiel Elliott played professional football?
Half of one?
Right. 1 year and a half.
Right.
1.5 years.
Right.
You realize all this happened before he was ever signed a contract with the Cowboys.
Right, exactly.
So how do you hold an NFL player who wasn't an NFL player at the time?
Right.
You know, Joe Mixon plays.
Right.
So, I mean, it's like, you know, I kind of feel like he's being punished for Ray Rice getting treated too easily.
But I think that all of NFL, since the Ray Rice incident happened, it's elevated what the penalties for all of these
and not that we're condoning if it was true.
Right.
I think that
if it's true and they can prove and they got evidence for it, he should be in jail.
But that's
what it comes down to.
But it's kind of like the football term is if there's indisputable proof.
Right.
And there's not. It's a lot of disputable proof.
Right.
In fact, there's not much proof. It's more
conjecture.
Just accusation.
Right.
So, you know, whatever that's worth to anybody that's out there. It's been bugging me because I'm like, how do you hold somebody accountable for something you suspend them when they can't get in trouble with the law that happened before you signed a contract to be a professional
athlete? Well, and I
athlete?
heard, I don't know if it was Roger Goodell or somebody said, we have more evidence than law enforcement has. If you've got that evidence, turn it over. What are you doing holding on to it?
Yeah,
and we know more than law enforcement knows. What are you doing? You need to hand it to them. I mean, that's my thing. And so I don't understand. It's like I said, he should either be in jail because he did something that was against the law, or he should be playing. The suspension part of it makes no sense.
So here's the thing. You know, you've got, and we won't go into all the politics of everything, but, you know, you got players kneeling. You got all the NFLs in different problems and this and everything. I like the Cowboys. I've always been a longtime Cowboy fan.
Me too.
And I will watch their games. But outside of that, if Tampa Bay is playing Green Bay or something, I don't watch it.
Nope.
I don't care nothing about it, really.
And, you know, I haven't watched near the football I've watched in past years, and I don't think it's really the politics. It's just because
it's just
the games don't seem as interesting to me as a whole. Like in past years, man, like I was big into fantasy, wanted to watch every game, but this year I'm kind of like I don't know.
Maybe there's just those heroes that haven't risen up, and but it just seems like I don't know. It's just
not as entertaining.
It's not as good, and baseball season, the end of baseball was way better. Way better.
Yeah, exactly. More entertaining.
Got huge ratings and stuff. Right. So that's our sports talk for today. But you can chime in. I know people that say Ezekiel Elliott should never play again and stuff like that.
Here's the thing. If he really did all the things he's accused of, you're right. He should never play again. He should be in jail.
Right.
And in my personal opinion, if he really did all that stuff and they can prove it, that's why the suspension to me is stupid, like I said. Because he either did it or he didn't. Okay, and if he did it, he should go to jail and serve time. And if he didn't do it, he should be playing. And so the suspension makes no sense to me. That's why, it's one of the others. So
if you want to watch a good 30 for 30, watch the one about the strike season.
I did. That one's awesome.
That's one of the best
Year
episodes.
Year of the Scab.
It's
great.
Where the guy comes out of jail to play.
Yes.
Remember that?
And goes right back in after he's done.
And then they didn't get the Super Bowl ring.
Right, exactly.
Oh my gosh. I love 30 for 30s.
Me too.
And that was one of the best ones I've ever seen.
Ric Flair coming up in a week.
Interesting.
In a week, Ric Flair. So gotta watch that one.
I love the 30 for 30s. And that was a good one.
And they have audio, they have podcast 30 for 30s too. I listened to one about the guys who created the Yankee Sucks t-shirt in Boston. So they were the first ones to print these like just very basic t-shirts that say Yankees suck. And they talked about printing them and kind of having this underground sales thing. Basically they would give a guy a group of shirts, and then he came back with half the money, and they got to keep the other half, and they were making so much money on these bootleg Yankee Suck T-shirts. It's amazing. But the audio podcasts are good too. If you're sitting at your desk at work, you can't watch it 30 for 30, but you can listen. That's what I usually do when I'm at work. I'll listen to the 30 for 30 podcast. So, but the Ric Flair 30 for 30 on November 7th. Yes, need to watch that one. Can we get your best woo?
Oh. Woo! Yeah. Woo!
That's right. So,
well, what games have you played?
I really, I guess all I've been playing is the 412 one that I did for my church. I've been playing all the games on that because I was doing so much testing on it. And actually, I had to replace the cord last night because I took it up there for the trunk or treat, and I put the cord and it got cut somehow, and it's shorting. Kept shorting out every plug that I plugged it into, and it's because the cord got cut. And so I actually had to replace the cord last night. It's working perfectly now. But I've been playing all sorts of games on that 412 one. I didn't realize all the games that were on there.
We plugged in a game today that had moved about an hour's drive from here. And when we plugged it in, it sparked, didn't trip the breaker.
Really?
And didn't blow the fuse on the game. The game had no power. But it actually blew the socket down in the ground.
I've seen that before.
And the problem with that is that's why you really want to. I don't like where the fuse is.
Right.
A lot of people gripe and complain about the fuse and they'll bypass it and whatever. Had it had the fuse in line in the right place, it should have blown the fuse. But because it blew that socket, it actually went through and killed the motherboard too.
Really?
So
interesting.
Weird thing that happened today, but it was all in power cord. I couldn't figure out what in the world happened and all this, and then finally it had 3 wires, and I pulled the white one and it came right out, and it was all frayed, and it touched one of the other wires. And anyway, we don't talk about power cords as much, but boy, if I buy a game at auction, one thing I do is replace that power cord or replace the end, especially if it doesn't have a ground.
I think I have the busted one in that bag. Hang on a second.
Well, this is really good live show content that you were sticking around for.
This is the old cord that came off this game.
Look at the problems it caused you.
But I mean, I cut. Yeah, exactly. This is the one that caused me all the problems. So, so you'll see. This is where it had the plate installed, but you'll see here.
Oh yeah.
Where, if you guys can see that, let me see how close I can put it up. You can see some.
And it's
of
a
the
metal
damage.
plate, I'm sure.
Right. It was a little metal plate. Now that was part of it, and you can see there's actually a little bit of the exposed ground wire right there. You can see a little bit of copper there. But I don't think the problem was there. To be honest with you, there was another place where it was pretty loose right there. And so I think this is what was causing my problem. When I would twist that just right, it would actually short out. And then, it has one of these little prong plugs on it. But yeah, this thing, I ripped that thing right off the game last night, and we replaced it with a outdoor extension cord is what I replaced it with. So
a really cheap fix.
It was a 15-foot cord I put on it because I wanted a long one. It's $10 at Home Depot. So, I mean, and all I had to do, I soldered and heat shrinked, and I mean...
But if you think about the amount of time you put into that game and how quick a fix that was, and could have saved some problems, but I mean, you live and learn, right?
Right, exactly. So, I mean, it's one of those things, too. I think part of that damage may have happened when I moved it. And so, like when you move games, you have to be careful about power cords because a lot of times they'll become ripped out and stuff like that, too.
For sure.
Hey, we should have put that on the main podcast.
We should.
That's why you stick around right there, guys.
Right.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up right there.
Yeah, let's go.
Don't you think so?
I'm ready.
Well, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. We're so glad that you did. And if you made it this far, thanks for good... and Cherry Coke, an official sponsor.
Yeah. Well, if they want to be, they can contact
Arcade Repair Tips
me.
is not affiliated with Cherry Coke. Okay. There you go.
I like it.
I like it.
If they want to pay me, I'll speak for them.
Okay, anyway, guys, but thank you guys for joining us tonight. We're so glad that you did. And again, December 14th, 5:30 will be the next show. So we hope to see you then. Of course, if you have any questions in the meantime, questions at arcaderepairtips.com, or leave a comment right below, and we will get to it when we can. So thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you in December.
So long, everybody.
So long.
I'm out.